The best writers are voracious readers who pick up the cadences and the feel of narration.
There's no alternative to reading if you want to be a writer. There is none. It's really useful to like watch Netflix movies and understand different forms of narratives and go to see plays and all of that. But you also have to read books. There's no getting away from it. And these days, Stephen King advises to get rid of your television. And these days, it's literally put down your phone.
Or 18, the nail fell out of the wall because there were so many rejection slips on it. So I got a bigger nail.
I just look for ideas that I really enjoy, something that I really want to live with for a while, like the story about the people under the dome.
My brother and I were both readers, and at some point along the way, I decided that I wanted to be a writer. So,
just to say, I didn't know I was going to be a writer until I was in my 30s, well into my 30s, and that's fairly common. I grew up with no books in the house, not knowing writing could be a thing that you could do. Never meeting anybody like a writer or an artist. So it took me a very long time to understand that I could be a writer. And even now I find debuts in their 50s, 60s, 70s. So there's no upper age limit.
I started to type up stories on an old typewriter that I had, and I started to send them to magazines, and I pounded a nail into the wall, and I'd get the rejection slips back. And I would put them on that nail, and around the time that I turned 17 or 18, the nail fell out of the wall because there were so many rejection slips on it.
Just to say, I love him for being honest about this. We all get rejected hundreds of times, and then we continue to be rejected throughout our careers. And it's something that doesn't really affect you after a while, but it affects you a lot in the beginning. And the only person that can choose for you to stop is you. If you don't quit, then you're still a writer, you're still a querying writer, you're still trying to become an author. So there is no body stopping you apart from you. You just have to persevere. And for some writers, they have to write 10 books before they get an agent.
I got a bigger nail. And if there's any secret that I know to success, it's if you don't succeed, get a bigger nail.
Yes, there is something I want to ask.
Also, just to say, getting an agent and being a traditionally published author is not the only way. Like, I don't want to give that impression. There are very successful, independently published authors who manage the whole process themselves. I couldn't do that. It's just not in my wheelhouse. I'm very much just a storyteller, and I'm useless at everything else. But some authors like to control the whole thing, and it's very much a respected route these days.
Thank you. All right. How the do you write so many books so fast?
This whole interview, Stephen King, George R.R. Martin, is genius. It's brilliant. They have such different approaches and such different styles. And I love the humor and the respect they have between each other. Obviously, they've both been doing this for a very long time. So go and check out the entire interview. But this is a good clip.
I think, I've had a really good 6 months. I've written 3 chapters, and you've finished 3 books in that time.
Here's the thing, okay? There are books and there are books. The way that I work, I try to get out there and I try to get 6 pages a day. So with a book like End of Watch, and when I'm working, I work every day, 3-4 hours. And I try to get those 6 pages, and I try to get them fairly clean. So if the manuscript is, let's say, 360 pages long, that's basically 2 months' work. It's concentrated, but but that's assuming that it goes well.
This is the other thing. There is no right way. There is no path. If you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, there's a path. You go down that path. You want to be a writer or any kind of creative, there's no path. There's no set path. It's chaos. You just muddle through and find your own way, and that might take many years, and it might lead to very many dead ends. There's no right way. There's no one right way to write a book, and everybody's process evolves over time anyway. Some people it takes them 5 years, some people it takes them 5 months.
You do hit 6 pages a day?
I usually do.
You don't ever have a day where you sit down there and it's like constipation and you write a sentence and you hate the sentence and
Okay.
you check your email and you wonder if you had any talent after all and maybe you should have been a plumber. Don't you have days like that?
This self-doubt affects everybody. Everybody. When I go to a festival in Hong Kong or New York and we're in the green room before an event or after an event, everyone's doubting themselves, constantly doubting their next piece of work, doubting everything. There's this weird balance between you need a little bit of ego to be a writer, but you need a lot of humility. And if you have the balance wrong, it doesn't seem to work out. So it's fun hearing George say this because I think this affects everybody. Everybody's constantly questioning the current thing they're working on.
No, I mean, there's real life. You know, I can be working away and something comes up, and you have to basically get up and you have to go to see the doctor, or you have to take somebody a care package, or you have to go to the post office because whatever. But mostly I try to get the 6 pages in, although entropy tries to intervene.
You go where the story leads you. And in this case, I had no idea it was going to have a dark conclusion. You know, you were mentioning before we got going, Salem's Lot. And when I started that story, I thought to myself, well, this will be the opposite of Dracula, where the good guys win. In this book, the good guys are going to lose, and everybody's going to become a vampire at the end of the book. And that didn't happen, because you go where the book leads you, and this one just led me into...
An aside, my 12-year-old son is currently getting into Stephen King. And it's exactly the same age as I got into Stephen King. And I got into Stephen King because my mom, bless her, would take me to the library. And she didn't know what Stephen King was. And she wouldn't have let me watch those movies, but I got away with reading the books. And now he's getting into the books. It's very exciting.
A very dark place. I didn't even want to go there. I want people to find it out for themselves.
But in any case, John Irving, when he was talking to a bunch of would-be writers one time, said that the first thing he does with a book is write the last line of that book. And I heard that and I just went, you know, like that. Because to me, that's kind of like spoiling the fun. I like to start with a little bit of an idea, you know, they come from different places. Sometimes they stick around and you want to do something, sometimes they don't. But the idea is to start with something and just start to go with it, you know.
Again, there is no right or wrong way on this. Some people critique Stephen King's endings because they can be not the most clear thing in the world, and sometimes they're not seen as strong as the openings or as strong as the vision of the entire book. Sometimes I think the endings are great though. John Irving, great, amazing writer. Everybody has a different way. This is the thing. Some people write out of chronology. They'll start on chapter 17 because it's a scene that they feel a connection to that day. And then they'll move on to the ending, and then they'll finish off at the beginning. I don't write like that. I write chronologically from the beginning of the story to the end because I don't know what's going to happen in the story. I'm telling myself a story for the first time, a story that's never existed. And I love that feeling of going along for the ride.
And that's the joy of finding things out, of having characters that just sort of walk on and become a big part of the story.
I feel like you have to follow the characters and you have to follow the story where it leads. And the last thing that I want to do is to spoil a book with plot. So, you know, I think that plot is the last resort of bad writers as a rule. I'm a lot more interested in character and situation, and you'll follow it where it goes. And
I agree completely. It's all about character and the particular situation. And for me, the atmosphere of the setting and the place and the time. But other people do love plotting, and they have a big, extremely well thought out whiteboard, and they have every single beat of the story planned out, and they can be great writers too. There's no right or wrong way. You just have to figure it out for yourself. And some people end up being a plotter at the beginning and then they end up being a pantser, whatever. So that's the fun of this whole thing. You have to have fun with it. You have to put a smile on your face when you're writing, when it's a private thing in a closed room before it even gets to publishing.
so Anyway, I had no idea that Tad was going to die, and I had no idea that Danny and his mother were going to live, but I was really glad when they did. People will say, do you keep a notebook? And the answer is, I think a writer's notebook is the best way in the world to immortalize bad ideas. My idea about a good idea is one that sticks around and sticks around and sticks around. It's like, to me, it's like if you were to put breadcrumbs in a strainer and shake it, which is what the passage of time is for me. It's like shaking a strainer. All this stuff that's not very big and not very important just kind of dissolves and falls out.
I think of this as digging. I'm digging. I've got a big idea. It's under the ground somewhere. I'm digging earth and mud and filth, and I'm using an excavator, and then I'm going down with a shovel. And sometimes I'll find there's just nothing there, really. Or it's just garbage there. Or I hit water. But sometimes I'll find something, I'm like, okay, this looks promising. And then I move to like a hand trowel, then I move to a brush, and it'll be an actual thing that's worth digging out. But the thing about having an idea that sticks and that will not leave you alone, and that has legs, has a life of its own, is really important. It has to have a certain energy, and it has to get you excited enough that you can spend years with this thing, you know, developing it, writing it, rewriting it, and then talking about it with your readers.
But the good stuff stays. You know, the big pieces stay. I had the idea for Under the Dome when I was teaching high school back in 1973, and it was just too big for me, and I was too young for it. And I wrote about 25, 26 pages and put it away. There's a scene at the beginning of this book where this woodchuck gets cut in half when this dome comes down over this town. I had written that part when I was in...
What an idea. What an idea. The master of high concept fiction. If you want to study high concept, if you're interested in high concept, or just want to understand what it means, then Stephen King's ideas, especially from back in the day, are the ones to look at. They're extraordinary.